Hey, this is Andy Brown, and in this follow along, I want to take a look at how we can utilize the AWS CLI skeleton templates and the inputs in order to make it easier to work with larger configuration files. So I'm opening up my cloud developer environment, and I'm just going to make a new folder in API here called skeleton. Okay, and what we'll do is just create ourselves a README file so we can just start to make things a bit easier. And so the idea is that we want to find something in the AWS CLI that's going to require some interesting configuration. So there's not a whole lot to do with S3, but maybe an EC2 instance will give us a lot more configuration options and things we can play around with. So I'm going to make our way over to EC2, and I'm starting to remember that what we want to utilize is run instances. So let's take a look if it even supports it. So what I'm looking for here is the generate CLI skeleton. So if it has that, then we can utilize it. It can take an input of JSON or YAML. So that's really nice. So what we'll do is go down below and just read about it. So prints a JSON skeleton to standard output without sending an API request. So the idea is that we can kind of start writing what we want, and then we can get a skeleton and then fill in our options. So I'm going to go down to examples. And let's see what we can pull out. So this we don't really need. I'm going to go down a little bit more. This one's a little bit more specific. We'll go with the more basic one, actually, now that I've thought about it. I'm going to paste this in here. We'll say allow. And let's say generate out skeleton for EC2. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with region US East 1 because last time I checked my CA Central 1, the default region was deleted. It shouldn't be, but it is. And it's causing me some issues, and I don't feel like figuring out how to recreate it right now. I'm sure we'll cover that in the VPC section. So I just want to make my life really easy here today. And so in the North Virginia, I need to go get that AMI. So if we go over to EC2 and we attempt to launch an instance, we can then go ahead and grab the AMI code. And so I just want it for this one here, the Amazon Linux 2023, which is totally fine. We'll grab that code, we'll bring it over here. And again, if this is the future and it says 2024, whatever, just grab what you need to grab, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and paste that on here. Understand that these AMI codes are region specific, so if we're running this in US East 1, we have to get this in US East 1. Otherwise, this code will be different. Even if it is the same software image, in a sense, the code will be different per region. So we have some information here. Let's go ahead and see what happens if we add that skeleton. So I'm going to look for skeleton again here. Okay, and it looks like I can take some parameters. So prints a JSON skeleton standard. If provided no value or the input, prints a sample JSON that can be used as an argument. So it sounds like you can provide it a string. So I'm not 100% sure how you'd provide that value, as we're not exactly seeing any examples. Maybe there is one if we just copy this and search a bit. No, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. So we'll go here, down a line, and we'll paste this in. And we'll put that there on the end. Actually, we can just bring this over a bit more. And so the idea is that when we run this, we should get a JSON file out. And it might print right to the screen, so we might have to do a little bit of work before we do it. Actually, I'm going to clear that out and just make sure I'm in the skeleton directory, just in case it does dump something. I want it to dump in its current directory. And remember that I already have loaded in my credentials here, so I don't have to constantly do it. So it is dumping it to the screen here. So if we really want to make use of this, we'll have to, I guess, go here and just say skeleton JSON. Okay, I'm going to type clear, and we'll copy this again, and we'll try this again, hit enter. And so let's make sure that our file is populated, and there we go. Personally, I like JSON, so this is a great opportunity for us to convert JSON to YAML. Do we have YQL installed? YQ? No, so let's go ahead and install that. So just look for YQ install Debian. Imagine we can probably use Snap or something else for that. Brew, we can do Brew. Let's go ahead and try that. Brew's okay. And it's installed by default on this here, but it doesn't want the @3. It just wants the normal one. And it looks like maybe there's a version 4 now, so maybe it didn't work because it's @3 and it's really @4. So maybe this documentation is now deprecated. Okay, so why why is it there? It must have dropped down. So we really wanted 4, but that's okay. We installed it and it brought in 4. But what I want to do is convert a JSON file to YAML. So we can go here and there should be some way to do it. I'm pretty sure we have it in the slides. Let me just go look in the slides and see if I can find it quickly, okay? All right, so I had a look and I think that we can figure this out. So there is this command here. We'll go ahead and grab this so we can partially solve this. And so the idea is that we want to ingest that file. Once we have a working, I'll copy and paste it into the README. But the idea is that we're saying be able to parse the format JSON. We'll hit enter. And there it's returning back YAML. So that's exactly what we want. So just say convert JSON to YAML. And what we could have done is probably piped it in this way, but we'll just run it separately here because we've already done this here. And the idea is that I want to output this into a skeleton YAML file. See if that works. Okay, output is now auto. Normally YQ would output JSON, but for backwards compatibility, YAML has been set. So please -O for explicit output. So maybe we should be setting that so that there is less chance of it mucking up. We'll go over here and take a look. And it did produce out YAML. I'm going to run that again because I want to see it without the errors. So we'll go ahead and delete this permanently. We'll grab this and we'll hit enter. And so now we get YAML without any complaints. And the reason I converted to YAML is because it makes it super easy to replace or substitute these values. Okay, so now we can go in and just fill this in based on what we want. We are getting a lot of information and it seems like a lot to fill in. So I wonder if we can just conditionally fill in what we want to fill in, because I don't want to do all of this, right? Like I don't want to figure out what all these device mappings are, but we can see what we have here. Also notice that it didn't pick up the values we passed in. So we did have some flags here, and so these flags didn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is just cut this out of here for a moment. And really the command should just be this, because obviously it didn't take any of the information we told it to do. So we'll go ahead and I'm just going to delete these again. And just make sure this works as expected. So we'll hit enter and we get our JSON here. And I would really like to get it in one go. So I wonder if we could pipe this in one go. So I'm just looking here how we could do that. I imagine what we could do, I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try it. But I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to try this skeleton YAML. Sometimes you got to play around with this stuff to figure out if it works. And we'll do this. And let's see if this just works in one go. No, it didn't like that. So there's probably some way to figure it out. Again, it's not that big of a deal. We could probably ask ChatGPT or some LLM to figure it out for us, but I don't care that much. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead here and just delete these out and we'll run this individually. So we'll run this one and then we'll run this one. Okay, and so now we have our YAML file. And if I close this out and just go here, we can go ahead and start filling this in. So one thing we want to have here, I don't think you can fill region in here, no, but we can fill out, let's say, the type. So we know we want this to be a T2 micro. And we do know we want the image ID to be this. So now here's the question. If we have all this other stuff, is it going to pick this up and these will default, or will this all complain? And that's what we're going to find out, right? So what we'll do is we'll just say load YAML input file. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete the JSON skeleton because I don't want to use that here. And we'll go over here and we'll take a look. So we have this, reads a string. So I don't know if we have to specify the file protocol here, but I guess we'll find out here in a moment. And one thing I definitely want to do is say region US East 1. And then for the input here, I'll try file, and we will say skeleton YAML. We'll see if that works. Okay. Window's too small. Doesn't like something. We'll go ahead and hit enter. Parameter validation failed for this. So I think what's happening here is that if something isn't set here, it's complaining. So we would really have to fill all of this out. So I think what we'll do is we'll just take out what we want. So let's say we only want to have these two values. I wonder if it'll just take that. Let's see if that will work. Let's try that again. And it looks like it did create it because it's returning back JSON. That's usually a good indicator that something has been created for our instance. So we'll go over here. And if I refresh this, I'm getting stuff back. Monitoring disabled, etc. Okay, so I mean, like, I'm getting information back, but I don't see an instance here. Maybe, oh, maybe we have this here. If we turn that off, there we go. Sometimes you got to be careful. Those filters might be confusing. And so it's initializing it here. So that is definitely working. It is a T2 micro. So we can fill that in partially. I'm going to go ahead and just terminate that because we've basically, we're able to make use of what we wanted there. So I'll go ahead. I'm just going to save this. Say skeleton and input example. So that is kind of nice. But yeah, there you go.